We spend a significant portion of our lives at work. It shapes our moods, relationships, and even our sense of self. But let's face it, work environments aren't always sunshine and rainbows. So, how do we create a workplace that fosters engagement, well-being, and joy? Enter Chris White, a leading expert on positive organizations, with his powerful insights on cultivating a thriving work culture.
If you're an executive and you want to avoid walkouts or checkouts before they become issues at your organization, there are 3 things that you can do. First, unblock communication. Walkouts and checkouts happen when we feel that we're not being heard, we're not being respected or considered in the workplace. And just about all of us have experienced having our ideas shot down or ignored in the workplace. When it happens, we tend to experience it as an identity threat. Some of us respond to that by closing down, shutting off. When we feel that we don't belong or that we're unimportant, our reaction is to stop caring as much about our work and caring as much about the people around us. So I remember feeling heartbroken when I was a new manager. I just asked a colleague of mine with decades of work experience for a recommendation on a problem that she brought to me. We stood in agonizing silence while she searched for an answer, any answer. After a long pause, she looked up and said, "I have never been asked what I think at work before." Now that is tragic, and it's all too common. And to avoid this pitfall, we need to continually invite people to speak up at work, because making these invitations just a routine part of how we engage with each other in the workplace actually lays really important groundwork that is needed for those times when people have to speak up and have to be heard on issues that are hard for management to hear. Backed into a corner by the scale and the intensity of the protests, Google CEO Sundar Pichai had a choice. He could choose to respond in a way that would close the door to people acting in line with their values, or he could choose to open it wider. Pichai's public response to the protests was not defensive. Instead, he sent an email out to the whole company. He said, "I understand the anger and disappointment that many of you feel. I feel it too. And I'm fully committed to making progress on an issue that has persisted for far too long in our society. And yes, here at Google too." He informed managers of the planned activities. He reassured protesters that they would have the support that they needed. But checkouts, because they're invisible, are even harder to notice and address than a 20,000 person walkout. Instead, managers have to proactively unblock the organization. They need to ask questions, they need to invite input, they need to foster creative conflict. But especially in that fragile moment where people have the courage to challenge us, we too need to embrace them for it. But then we need to become responsive, because we know, don't we, that it's not enough just to hear people out. Words without action breed cynicism. They lay the seeds for future walkouts and checkouts. The Google walkouts were not a first step. They were a last resort. The Google employees had already spoken to managers and HR and ombudspeople, This was an escalation because they felt their issues were not being addressed, they're not being taken seriously. And while Pichai's response was a good one, it was supportive, some people continue protesting to this day at Google because they do not feel that sufficient action has followed the supportive words. Now, when managers and employee activists are on the same page, then action is a natural next step. But here's the thing, we're not always going to agree, are we? Sometimes employee activists will raise issues that managers just don't agree with. And in that fragile moment, we will determine what kind of culture we will have. Will we engage in dialogue and debate? Can we stay unified even in dissent? Or will we choose to skate over our differences, allow our relationships to become inauthentic, and our identities to become diluted? What will it be? Well, at a minimum, we can try to have dialogue. We can try to resolve our differences and find common ground that, even if it's not ideal for any one party, might be acceptable for all. And sometimes, though, that is just too hard. The common ground can't be found. And in that difficult place, we have three choices. First, if we feel we can't live with the resolution, then we can choose to leave the company. We can find employers whose values more closely align with our own. Or, second, we can choose to stay with the company. We can compartmentalize, keep doing a good job, and hope for an issue. Look for a time to address the issue again in the future. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos is an advocate of a third path. He says, let's disagree and commit. Address the issue head on, and he'll ask his team, look, I know we don't agree here, but will you gamble with me on it? And if your reservoir of trust in your relationship is deep enough, you can continue to move forward on the work and agree to keep working on the issue as you go. Any one of those options is better than the alternative of checking out, which is a surefire path to organizational demise and professional misery. So finally, aim higher. Doesn't it seem like a low bar just to avoid checkouts and walkouts? Shouldn't we strive for more? We need to invite people to bring their whole selves to work, because when everyone can bring their life experiences, we just have so much more to offer. We are more than the sum of our resumes.
But wait, before we proceed, I will ask you a question. Are you ready to take control of your financial future? If yes, introducing Cash Flow Academia. The ultimate online course designed to unlock the secrets of financial success. Discover the art of budgeting like never before, learn investment strategies that can supercharge your savings, and unravel the mysteries of building a financial legacy. Cash Flow Academia is not just a course, it's your roadmap to financial empowerment. Don't miss out on the opportunity to secure your financial future. Click the link below. Enroll now.
This is Joan Bohan. Joan is a finance director at Disney Europe. She's also a mother. And her son Roman has dyslexia. Did you know that 1 in 10 people live with dyslexia? That's a huge population serve, a huge potential market for a company like Disney. So when Disney announced an internal contest for new and impactful business ideas, Joan just couldn't resist applying. She'd heard about modifications that made it easier for dyslexics to read, wider, different, larger fonts, wider spaces between letters, rulering between lines, but these weren't widely available. Could Disney help with that? Because Disney invited Joan to bring her whole self to work and all of her unique strengths, values, passions, experiences, they can now better serve millions of people with dyslexia. So all this sounds good. Unblock communication, become responsive, aim higher. Where do we begin? Well, I'd like to end by offering you a short test. I'd like you on Monday morning to go back into work, and I'd like you to walk around and, after some pleasant chit-chat, talk to 10 different people and ask them this question. Hi, what don't we talk about around here that we really should be talking about? You'll probably get one of those awkward silences, and that's okay. If they do pause, then say, come to me later, tell me what you find. If no one has anything, then your organization is probably blocked. But that's okay. By asking the question, you have signaled openness. Keep going. Keep asking the questions. Ari Weinzweig, CEO of Zingerman's, likes to say, success doesn't mean we have no problems, it means we have better problems. And my closing wish for you is that you earn better problems. By unblocking communication, by becoming responsive, over time, more and more people will open up and start sharing more of themselves, their ideas, their unique offerings. And over time, you will have a new, better problem. Harnessing that energy and aiming higher.
Chris White's message is clear. A positive work culture isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. By unblocking communication, being responsive, and embracing diversity, you can unlock the potential of your people and create a workplace where joy thrives. Thank you for joining us on this journey towards a more positive and fulfilling work experience. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.